Baseball is back, and we want to celebrate by slashing the cost of any daily picks packages. That includes a baseball play by 50%, including 5% best bets. This amazing promotion runs from Thursday, April 7th, when 18 of the 30 MLB teams take part in opening day, to midnight on Wednesday, April 13th, and you can get $25 daily packages for $12.50, $29 daily combo packages for $14.50, $35 5% best bets for $17.50, and $39 5% best bet combo packages for $19.50. Whether you never bet on MLB or just like discounts, save 50% on baseball picks for the entire first week of the baseball regular season.
Happy Monday, guys. Welcome in right here to WagerTalk TV. We're happy to have you, whether you're listening on YouTube or podcast form. We're looking forward to a great show. I'm Andrew. I also have Carmine with me, as usual, just the two of us on this Monday show. Lots to break down today, lots to get into, despite just the one game on tap in the NHL. We're going to recap the weekend, talk about a few things we learned and a few things that we noticed. Of course, we got the Montreal Canadiens and the Winnipeg Jets. That is the lone game for tonight. We're going to take a look at the future board, a couple of futures we both like, kind of forecast some schedules, different things like that. I have my buy and sell segment, which is going to be a great one for this week. And of course, Carm will give some of the same information when we talk about the futures as well. And we've got best bets at the end here. Just one game, guys. Carm and I have both found one best bet for tonight's game that you'll want to grab onto. So, Carm, last week, I appreciate all the kind words about the streak I was on. Unfortunately, it did come to an end, but kind of bounced back the next day, and we're still rolling. But, man, if I am not mistaken, you have hit 3 5% plays since I have last spoken to you on this show. Is that correct, man? You're on a roll right now, man.
I think it was 3. I'm not sure. At least this weekend, NHL Vegas Golden Knights. I could not believe the handicap number on that was where it was. And then yesterday in soccer, the Man City Liverpool game, I had over the total. I knew that we'd see a bunch of goals there, and it pretty much got there in the first half. And then 3 minutes into the second half, it was confirmed as a winner. So I'm pretty happy about that. And after starting Saturday with an early loss with the Dallas Stars game against New Jersey, 6 straight NHL winners, 3-0 last night in NHL. So I'm pretty happy about that, because I talk about the ones that lose. So I'm going to talk about the ones that win instead of the other way around. But it was fun. I got to go to the Leaf game on Saturday. As you guys might have seen, I was wearing a Montreal jersey, Guy Lafleur, number 10, to honor my dad, who's up there probably watching the Habs and having a glass of wine. But I thought I'd wear the jersey, his favorite player and his favorite team. It was a good game, Andrew. It was pretty funny because I think I tweeted out and I mentioned it. At the end of the first period, I'm in line to go to the bathroom, and the lineups are just absolutely horrible at the Scotiabank. But I'm in line in the bathroom waiting to get rid of the $17.50 beer that I had. And some guy starts chatting me up with a Montreal jersey. And he says, "You look familiar." And I'm like, "All bald guys look familiar, dude." And he goes, No, I know you from somewhere. So I'm like, I did some work for MSG Networks. I do a show daily on WagerTalk TV called Puck Time. He goes, "That's where I know you from." And he just starts chatting about hockey. And I asked him if he was in my section, and he goes, "No, we got a box. Why don't you come and join us?" And I'm like, in my head, wow. A box, free food, free beer. I'm there. So I went and joined them, and I watched the rest of the Leaf game in a private box. I was pretty happy about that. Leafs win the game 3-2. It wasn't a dominating performance by them, but Leafs still continued to look very good. One other team, Andrew, before we get into some futures that I thought looked very good on the weekend was the Washington Capitals. I talked about looking to fade them, and I tried to fade them against the Pittsburgh Penguins. They beat them. And then I watched yesterday's game because I wanted to see how they played the following day. And they're starting to play playoff hockey. We've talked about a ton of goals being scored in the last couple of weeks, Andrew. Washington's playing playoff hockey. They actually look pretty impressive. We're rolling out their lines. Their cycle game, very good. Their checking game, very good. Bodes well for if you're a Washington fan, at least right now they look pretty good.
Yeah, Carm, it was a great weekend, and I got to say that good things happen to good people, man. So that's great. You got to experience that. You were in the box, and awesome. You got to meet someone that watches Puck Time. So I'm happy for you, and it seemed like it was a great time. But one of the real reasons I'm happy for you because you're wearing a great jersey. I mean, red looked good on you, and hey, I don't want to see you in that blue ever. So keep that red on. I did like seeing that, and Guy Lafleur is a great player. Of course, I didn't get to watch him. But a great player. So I love that jersey, man. That was awesome.
Yeah, no, it was a fun time. I grabbed some drinks before the games, and I'm at a place close by, and of course I had the Habs jersey on. I'm like, I'm just going to walk around these Leafs fans with this Habs jersey. There's a lot of Montreal fans in Toronto. Let me tell you, you normally see when the Leafs are on the road, you see a ton of Leaf jerseys in the stands as they have a huge following. Montreal's got a very big following as well too. A lot of them. There was the private boxes. There was 2 or 3 boxes I could see with all Montreal things, and I'm wondering if it was the every team does the father's trip or the mother's trip where they take all their moms on the trip. There was 2 boxes side by side, and all you saw was every single person in the box wearing a Montreal jersey. So I have a feeling that might have been the dad's trip, which would have been a good one anyways. Toronto and Montreal is such a great rivalry, but there was a lot of Montreal jerseys in the stands there. I may end up doing a giveaway for that Guy Lafleur jersey, or I'll see. We might run a contest. I'm not sure how many Montreal fans we have as part of our Puck Time family, but I know Don Buster is a Montreal fan, so maybe tomorrow I'll exchange the jersey for like a box of those avocados from Mexico from him. We'll see what we can pull together.
Maybe if you give him that jersey, we can get him to buy a green screen or something like that. We'll get a different background. But no, we love you, Buster. I want to mention real quick, Carm, about the weekend. Shout out to Kelly in Vegas. That expression, the chalk eating weasel, that she always mentions on Twitter, which is quite funny. Well, the favorites got it done this weekend, Carm, in the NHL. There was a good period of time where we were seeing upsets left and right. Buffalo, Ottawa, all kinds of different teams in both conferences just kind of shocking their opponents. It seemed to me over the weekend, just the way things worked out, that some teams were saying, not so fast, we're back on track, we're focused, and we don't want to let you upset me. And that's kind of what happened yesterday. And for the majority of Saturday, that's what happened as well. So the reason why I bring that up is because I want people to know it's okay to bet favorites. It's okay to bet puck lines. Right now, gambling Twitter and social media has almost built people to not think it's okay to be a heavy favorite bettor on a certain day. The fact of the matter is, it's all about your handicap, how you created the odds, what you thought they should be. And Carm had an outstanding pick with that 5% on Vegas puck line, and it was pure dominance from start to finish. And I was lucky enough to have that, Carm, because I had the over in that game. And, one team pretty much did all the scoring, and I really needed everything I could get out of the Vegas Golden Knights. But we are going to jump into the Canadiens game in just a few moments, but we're going to actually go to do the futures first here. And I wanted to start with you, Carmen. We talked pre-show, and I almost wish we didn't talk about it because I could get you, an organic reaction. But you went in, you looked at a lot of scheduling stuff, similar to what I do with the buy and sell segment, and you took apart some of these teams that are looking for playoff positions or playoff spots. So, what have you found that people should know looking forward, and what are you looking forward to for some futures here?
Yeah, I ran a lot of numbers on the weekend because I had the time, obviously, for it while I'm watching some of the games. I ran simulations, and it literally is just going over in the West, not so much the East, but in the West, the bottom 4 or 5 teams, including the Vegas Golden Knights, who are right now on the outside looking in, and in their games, and on rest days, 3 and 4 night games, and just going through and running simulations on where they should finish point wise in the standings, and that helps me put together where the top 8 in the West, and then looking at possible playoff series, so you can look at futures. It's something I do towards the end of every season and it's worked well because I'm always heavily into the futures market. And anyone who remembers, I hate to go back, I use it a lot in soccer, and I used it in the 2018 World Cup. If you guys will remember, picking France and Croatia to meet in the final of the World Cup, and that happened. And those prices were 70 to 1 and 40 to 1. And I had a ton of clients messaging me every day on how to hedge out Croatia at 40 to 1 to make money. Everyone made money back then. I'll be doing the same thing for this year's World Cup in Qatar. But looking at this, Andrew, if we look specifically at the West, um, the team that I'm worried about the most is, because they're in a playoff spot right now, is Nashville. You look at Nashville, and they have 10 games left, 7 at home, 3 away, but 7 of their 10 games are against playoff teams. And every simulation that I ran thus far, or the majority of them, has Nashville on the outside looking in at the end of the season. They've got to play Tampa Bay, Edmonton, St. Louis, Calgary twice, Colorado, Minnesota, not in that exact order. Those are the 7 playoff teams, and there is not an easy one in that. And then they have Chicago, San Jose, and Arizona as the 3 teams who are non-playoff teams. They're lucky that they have 7 games at home, because winning games at home are important. Getting games to overtime where you can pick up single points are important as well too. But I had them finishing on 95 points, which is not good for them, because Vegas I have finishing on 96 points and eking into the playoffs. Now, whether that happens or not, a lot of simulations still had Nashville making the playoffs, but that's getting some draws in their games and picking up single points. Single points are so important. And as you're looking through these last couple of weeks of the season, those popular, at the end of the season, those popular, will a game go to overtime and you can get plus 300 on your money? There's going to be some games where you got to look at overtime for these teams, because just getting that game to overtime and getting the team 1 point makes the difference. But look at these matchups based on the most popular final 8 standings in the West. These would be the matchups that I came up with. Minnesota playing the St. Louis Blues, a toughie. Edmonton playing the LA Kings, not so much a toughie for Edmonton, you would think. Colorado and Vegas, and then Calgary and Dallas. And as a Calgary fan right now, just because I want them to win the Pacific, that is not a good matchup for the Calgary Flames against the Dallas Stars. I'm telling you that much, Andrew, as far as that goes. So with that in mind, because this is a futures section of the show, if you believe that Nashville will not make the playoffs, you can get them over at DraftKings plus 550 on the no to make the playoffs. Consequently, the LA Kings, the easiest schedule to finish off the year, only 1 game against playoff teams. And I know they're on a 3-game losing streak, but those losses came to Minnesota, Edmonton, and Calgary. Let's remember that. Those are 3 very good teams. They play Colorado, and that is it. They then play Chicago twice, Anaheim twice, Seattle once, Columbus once, Vancouver once. They're in a playoff spot now, and with 7 of their 8 games against non-playoff teams, you have to figure that they're going to do well enough to make the playoffs. And over at DraftKings, LA Kings to make the playoffs are minus 180. That might seem chalky, but that is a very good price. It should be much higher than that. I would take the minus 80 on the LA Kings to make the playoffs, Andrew.
That's great stuff there, Carm. One team that we could take to miss the playoffs, and one team to take to make the playoffs based on some great numbers and some great scheduling spots there. It's so great. Kind of just how the evolution of sports gaming has grown. And I know I'm rather young in the industry, but just seeing kind of what's changed and all these different types of future bets that you can make now. It's not just an outright winner. It's not just a Western Conference winner. It's the point totals. It's the Rocket Richard winner. It's the make the playoffs, miss the playoffs. There's so much to look forward to. I wanted to mention just kind of 2 teams, one team in one conference and one team in the other, that I think presents some decent value here. And one of the teams that I've been very high on, the Pittsburgh Penguins in the East. And this is a betting show, so I'm not just high on them because I like the team. I'm high on them because they are 8-1 currently. As that's what I'm seeing, and that's actually what I gave my clients months ago. The number is not really budged, But I think if you look at their schedule over the past 2.5 to even 3 weeks, to quote Brian Leonard, it has been a murderer's row. It has been very tough for them. And I'm not saying I'm creating an excuse for them. What I'm saying is that it's been very tough for them with very little rest. And it's kind of made them, look a little bit worse than they might be. And some other teams that are near them in the standings, their scheduling has made them look a little better than they may be. So I think that if they stay healthy with a great mixture of younger players and veteran players on that team, also a good decor, Tristan Jarry is the biggest key, for them. I believe if he, does what he's doing in the regular season in the playoffs and not what he did last year, which I'm sure that that'll be the talk of the town when that team gets to the playoffs. I feel like they could make a good run. And I think you and I were talking about this pre-show about that New York Rangers matchup. If they played them in the playoffs, the Rangers just won 3 straight games against the Pittsburgh Penguins, and 2 of them were in dominant fashion. It'd be quite something if the Pittsburgh Penguins can, have a series against them in the playoffs, forget about the regular season, and get the job done against them there. So 8-1 Eastern Conference there. That's value, in my opinion, here with the Pittsburgh Penguins. As far as the Western Conference goes, Carm, look, it's kind of a popular pick these days, but the Minnesota Wild at 9-1. Right now I'm seeing Colorado, Calgary, Vegas, then Minnesota. First of all, Vegas is in a weird position right now, even in the standings. Obviously, they have so much talent, but I'm not a believer in Las Vegas. I'm not a believer in the Golden Knights. I think their general manager thought he was playing a video game and tried to create a dream team. And that's just not how you win games, in my opinion. They got rid of a playoff gamer like Alex Tuck, a guy that belongs in the playoffs. Obviously, there was going to be cap issues and things like that. Jack Eichel's a great player. I just don't think they needed another superstar like that. There's a difference between playoff players and superstars. Alex Tuck is a guy that I'd want to have on my team. And I think that they're going to miss a little bit of that grit. And the chemistry isn't going to be there with that team because they've been injured the entire season, guys. Whether it's defensively or offensively, they've been injured. So I look at this Minnesota team. I think they can kind of make their way through the Western Conference. Of course, somebody has to upset the Colorado Avalanche. But if I'm going to get a matchup against them, why not get 9-1 here? I think the Minnesota Wild offer a pretty good edge in that. So 2 futures for me, Carm. Any thoughts on those?
I like them both, Andrew. If this is going to be, listen, it's going to be interesting from here on out. Like I said, we have a couple weeks of very good hockey ahead of us, and we're going to start to see some teams gear it up. You know what I mean? Like I talked about Washington recently. Their 2 games, it's playoff hockey. When you can see some teams try and turn it on. If nothing else, you look back at this the game that I was at on Saturday, the Leafs, and I think everyone expected a ton of goals in that game. Montreal, the Leafs outplayed Montreal. It was, I think, 40-24 or 40-26 were the final shots on goal. Leafs were all over them. Allen played well until obviously he had to come out, and then Samuel Montembeault came in, and I think they scored on the very first shot against him, but he played extremely well the rest of the way. That felt like the playoff series last year. It was just a lot of action going both ways, not a lot of scoring, and a 3-2 final. I don't think the final score was an indication of how the game was played, but the Leafs need to be winning games like they did on Saturday, winning these 3-2 games, lower scoring games, because come playoff time, we're not going to see 6-5 games where you're relying on Austin Matthews, who's a phenomenal talent, of course, to score 3 or 4 goals for you and carry the team. And before anyone says anything, Leafs are one of the highest scoring teams in the East, along with Florida. So, of course, they're going to have a bunch of 20-goal scorers on that team. So, yes, it's not just Austin Matthews. It's everyone else on the team who are still scoring. But we'll see come playoff time because, of course, that's where the goaltending is going to come in. Shalgren looked pretty good since coming back from the rib injury. Campbell hasn't looked as good. We'll see come playoff time if this team can put it together. I have Toronto possibly facing Tampa Bay in the first round of the playoffs. That would be a very interesting series. And the Leafs have another trip to Florida to play. I think they play Tampa in Florida back to back again. So we'll see on that trip if it goes as well as their last trip went. Andrew.
Well, Carm, I look outside my window right now in the office and I don't see any snow on the ground. And here in the east coast of Canada, that means it's almost playoff time. And I can't wait for that. It's almost here. One more month of hockey. Speaking of hockey, it's time to jump into tonight's game. The Winnipeg Jets and the Montreal Canadiens, they're head-to-head tonight. The lone game. I'm sure the casual fan is probably not too excited. This is the only game on tonight. I'm excited. I'll watch this game, of course. Winnipeg, minus 140 on the road. Montreal plus 120 at home here at the Bell Center. Total sits at 6.5. And, both teams have been known to give up goals, be involved in high-scoring games, at least recently anyway, whereas the Winnipeg Jets in the past, well, they were a dead not under team. They were a great defensive team. They were a huge team that were hard to get on the inside with. They were hard to get behind. But now, Hellebuck hasn't had his best season. The defense from Winnipeg hasn't been great. The forwards have created turnovers. It's been a relatively sloppy Winnipeg hockey team over the past, 2 to 3 months here, Carm. And you mentioned the goaltending issues. I feel so bad. I take a look at Montreal and their goaltending situation. Jake Allen, kind of what happened with him getting injured. Eric Engels, Montreal reporter, tweeted out that Allen told him it was like a season from hell. As far as the injuries, I feel for him. And you mentioned Samuel Montembeault for the Montreal Canadiens. Look, I don't think he's gotten the credit he deserves. I know I am a fan of the team, but if you would have told him, hey, you're a third-string goaltender this year, that you would play the most games for the team, I bet you he would have been quite shocked to hear that. So sure, he might not be a starting NHL goaltender, but he has been this year. Unfortunately, his workload has been so tough, Carm, that I think it hurts him big time. I think there's goals in this game. I think that, Winnipeg's desperate. Kyle Connor, he's back from his injury, or I believe it was COVID, actually. He was out for several games, and he hasn't scored yet since he's been back, but this could be a good game for him to do so. And Pierre-Luc Dubois, Nikolai Ehlers, those guys should be up here for this game against Montreal. And let's not forget as well, there's some bad blood between these two teams, Carm, dating back all the way last year to that Jake Evans hit. And then the last game, even if it wasn't about that hit, there were still some scraps and some heavy hits and some trash talk and that kind of stuff, which usually leads to penalties, which is why I bring that up, which can eventually lead to power play goals. So I'm going to say the over 6.5 here. I think if you look at it from a large scale, the Winnipeg Jets would be the play. For once, we're finally not really seeing an overinflated number. But to your point, Carm, I saw a good performance against the Maple Leafs from the Canadiens, and you were at the game, but I liked the way they played. I just worry about their schedule they've had recently, and of course, Montembeault, how many games he's had to play recently could certainly be an issue. But having said all of that, I see goals in tonight's game. What about yourself?
Yeah. I think at this point, Winnipeg knows they're not going to make the playoffs at this point here, and you just wonder when you get games like this. I think the natural thought is when you get games like between two non-playoff teams that it's just our guys out there freewheeling it, trying to pad stats. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but you just wonder what the mentality is, and I don't know what goes into their heads in the dressing room. They just want to go out there, and there's guys who are still trying to score. They're looking at their contracts. They're playing for contracts. You look at this, the last time these guys played, it was such an entertaining game. 8-4 in Winnipeg. Winnipeg gets out to a 4-0 lead in the first period. Montreal scores 4 straight 3 in that first period. And, we got 7 goals in that game just in the first period alone. And then the last 4 goals are by Winnipeg, all on the power play, as you stated. Whether that bad blood boils over this last meeting in front of Montreal fans, and you look at the Canadiens try and exact a little bit of revenge yet again on them, that remains to be seen. I think the Montreal played well, like I said, on Saturday. I'm not really sure it's one of those instances where you say Montreal left it all on the ice and they're gassed and they lose tonight's game. Uh, I think that they're playing really well under Marty St. Louis, and they're going to continue to play well. They're going to finish out the season. They're not tanking. We haven't seen anything from them to suggest that they're tanking. I think we see a good game tonight when we see some goals. I think if I had to pick a side, I'd probably and likely go with the home side here in Montreal because you're getting plus money in a game where neither team is really playing for anything. You might want to take the plus money with the the Canadiens here, Andrew. As far as a play on it, I'd probably look to the over as well too. I'd probably lean over. I'd probably lean Montreal. I don't have a play on this game for my clients. I'm probably going to play some prop bets, and one of them will probably be the first period total, and we'll talk about a way to attack that in the best bet segment of this show. But I agree with you on goals here tonight.
Awesome. Well, we're in agreement here. Hopefully, it's an exciting game if it's the only game of the night. Let's jump into the buy and sell segment. We broke down some opportunities to make some money with futures or different scheduling spots, but I have a few different ones I'm looking at here in the buy and sell. The very first one I'm going to talk about today, we'll start with the buy team, guys. I'm going to start with the Carolina Hurricanes here. And guys, look, couple spots here, couple situations. They have something to play for. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. They just look at, okay, this team is in the playoffs. They've clinched a playoff spot. It doesn't matter anymore. What people have to realize is that it's all about where you finish in your playoffs, where you finish in the regular season, where you finish in the standings, and who you're going to play, how high you are in the standings, those head-to-head matchups. They have something to play for, including the New York Rangers, who they're neck and neck with right now in the standings, who they're playing this week. Strong quotes from coaching staff regarding defensive effort. Rod Brind'Amour is not a coach that takes bad defensive efforts lightly. And despite having some really competitive games recently, he has not been happy. And he said that's been the main focus in practice. Despite some wins, even in victory, he's not a happy coach all the time. And I like that. I like when coaches aren't satisfied, and it does not sound like he is satisfied. Scoring as a group, guys. Right now, the Carolina Hurricanes, one of my favorite things about that team is the fact they score as a team. What do I mean by that? Well, it's not just 2 or 3 guys doing the bulk of the scoring. You guys all know how important that is to me as a sports bettor, as a hockey bettor, to have several guys that can score. When I have a team, I want them to know. I want to know that if they're down 2 or 3-1, I can count on not just the first line to score and help them come back. The second line, third line, several guys to contribute, and I expect that with the Carolina Hurricanes. So that's it for the buy segment. Let's jump into the sell segment now here, guys. The Dallas Stars. I'm selling the Dallas Stars here. Obviously, they're kind of in that race for the playoff spot, and they've been for a while now. But I think something to keep in mind, and something we all have to always remember: must win does not mean will win, and that's kind of the case here for the Dallas Stars. They have a tough road ahead versus Tampa, Minnesota, San Jose, and Vancouver. Things will not be easy for them. And last but certainly not least, consistency has been a major issue for them. One game like yesterday on Sunday, they put up 5 goals. They're protecting the lead. They start playing very well. The next game, they could go out and score 2 goals. I mean, their offensive firepower has been very inconsistent. And the month of April, that is not what you want to have out of a team you're looking to buy on. So I am selling the Dallas Stars, hoping to get some good prices, hoping to make some money, fading that team. All right, that's the buy and sell for this week. Of course, Karen, we discussed some different futures on the show as well. But those are 2 teams I'm looking to buy on and, of course, sell for this week. I'll get your thoughts on that. And, of course, best bet for today's show.
Yeah, no, I always like that buy and sell segment. My apologies, because after talking about the Montreal game, I was supposed to throw it to you for our intro on the buy and sell. Of course, I muffed that like a punt. NFL season less than 120 days away, guys. So just tossing that one out there when we're talking about muffed punts. But I do like it. It'll be interesting because, like I said, teams like Dallas, teams like Nashville have at least over the next week have a lot of tough games to play. So we're going to see the standings, especially in the West, the standings move up and down. Right now, Vegas is on the outside looking in, and Vegas is going to have to win a lot of games in which they're not going to be favorites in, and if they want to make the playoffs, Andrew, or else Vegas is going to be on the outside looking in, and the bottom three will likely be Nashville, LA Kings, and Dallas. It's whether you want to call it injuries with Mark Stone, or them trying to run the Tampa Bay Lightning salary cap scheme with the injury reserve list and putting Stone out there so they could get Eichel in. We'll see if it works out for them, but it's going to be awfully tough for Vegas to make the playoffs. If they drop any games against teams that they're supposed to beat, they're in trouble because they've got to win all of those and then beat teams like Calgary or Edmonton. I'm not sure of I don't have their schedule in front of me, but they got some toughies in front of them as well too. So this last couple of weeks are going to be absolutely insane because we're going to see the teams jockeying for position, and in the East as well too. Andrew, you look at not the Pacific, the Atlantic, with Tampa Bay, Toronto, and Boston, and as well as Toronto's playing right now. They're only a 2 or 3 game losing streak from sitting third and having to likely face Tampa Bay in the first round of the playoffs on the road. So it'll be interesting from that point of view. But as far as your sell, we'll have it. I do think that if you look at Dallas's past performances, I took them last night to win. I thought they bounced back off that flat performance against the Devils. They didn't look good against the Devils. So if you're going to look at certain teams and then point out that they lost a game to another team that's not a playoff team, but then I'll also pump up a team, look at that team as well too. And I'm talking about people in our chat who seem to have tunnel vision sometimes, but I love our chat anyways. Let's see what the Dallas Stars have to show us over the next week or so, Andrew.
Yeah, it should be interesting. It's going to be a good week. And something that you mentioned, Carm, earlier during the future segment is the overtime and draw props, something that you and I don't do too often, but maybe we'll look at it this week on the show. We'll try and find our maybe potential overtime game of the day or something like that. And like you mentioned, half unit, 1 unit, we could, just a little sprinkle on these, the great odds we do get from the draw or overtime props. Carm, let's wrap this show up, man. Let's put a bow on it here with some best bets here. And of course, it's $9 Monday across the website. Every single play up for just $9. I do believe you have a 5% up for soccer tomorrow for just $9. Is that correct?
Yeah. 5% play up. You can get it for $9 on $9 Mondays at WagerTalk up until midnight, where they revert back to regular pricing. There's nothing going on because today I don't like any soccer, so I'm not going to force anything on anyone for the sake of trying to sell something. And the same with NHL. You got my thoughts on this one. This is just I don't get it, man. 1 game on Monday. Tomorrow we have 14. You would have thought they would have sprinkled some of those 14 over to tonight, so we have some action. Probably going to catch up on Billions or something, and watch that series. But as far as tonight's game goes, guys, I'm going to go to the first period and the first period over, and I'm not taking the -1.5, -160 on the over. I've talked about in the past, some sites do have a 2 up, and you can get plus money on it. The way I look at it, I'm not going to lay the juice. I'd rather take the plus money, and if it lands on 2, I get a push, and we just move on to the next day. But you can get over 2 plus 110 on this game, and I think we see some goals in this one. Again, 2 teams playing out the season. Neither one is going to make the playoffs, even though Winnipeg is looking up at the standings and seeing themselves, 8 or 9 points back. They're done. There's too many teams in front of them to leapfrog. So maybe we see some goals tonight. Samuel Montembeault is confirmed as tonight's starter, and we'll likely see Comrie in goal for Winnipeg. So we see a couple backups in goal tonight. Let's hope we get some goals. To you guys in the chat, absolutely love all the comments, every single comment you guys put in there. We love. I'm going to put this NHL contest together for you guys and have info in the next couple of days. We'll give out some very good prizes, and I am doing this because you guys are awesome. We love our Puck Time community, and I want to do this for you guys.
You are the man, Carm. Awesome stuff. Over in the first period, over 2. Remember, guys, Carmen's saying, hey, don't get that, the juice there with the 1.5. Take the 2 at plus 110. For me, guys, look, I'm in action early today here, Carm, in the afternoon baseball action, just the way it worked out for me with my play of the day in the MLB. I'm on a 22-3 all sports run. The record so far in MLB this season, 4-2-1. I'll take it, but I want it to be better, 4-2-1. 16-5 run dating back to last season in the MLB. So grab today's play. It's for just $9, of course, at WagerTalk.com. Again, it is an afternoon game, so grab that now. And I am not involved in this NHL game with an official play, so you guys heard my thoughts. However, I do like a prop here, and that's Kyle Connor to score a goal at plus 100 against my beloved Montreal Canadiens. He has not scored since returning, but he has looked dangerous. He's getting the ice time, and he's shooting the puck from everywhere he possibly can. He is an absolute sniper, and I believe he'll get it done against the Canadiens and Montembeault at plus 100. And a lot of you guys might say, why is he taking a goal-scoring prop at plus 100? Well, if you want to know why I'm doing that, just look at how Austin Matthews has scored 50 and 50, and his goal prop is minus 130. I don't care about these big plus 300s if they don't cash. A plus 100 to me is a great bet if it gets the job done for me, and I believe it will here with Kyle Connor to score a goal here. That's my best bet on the show. Carmine is looking at Winnipeg, Montreal first period over 2 at plus 110. And that's it for today's show. We have Wager Talk today coming up right after this at 12 o'clock Eastern time, and plenty of other great shows on Wager Talk TV. Make sure you check them out as well. On behalf of Carmine, I'm Andrew. We'll see you tomorrow with Don Buster.
Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at both WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, when all daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including 5% best bets, normally priced at $35. As an added bonus, any picks packages loaded early for Overnight Tuesday or action during the week will also be priced at $9 until midnight on Monday. So make sure to take advantage of getting these $25 and $35 picks for only $9 before the clock strikes 12 and they return to regular price.